Friends and family of the Dar, welcome. It's been 5 years since I got to say that. It's such a pleasure to be back. Honestly, I am so grateful for the opportunity to be hosting Hiwar this season. Hiwar is a new segment that has now been incorporated as of the cultural season, 27th cultural season, actually. And the idea is to kind of switch up the learning format here at the Dar. So instead of it being a lecture given or provided by a speaker, it's now more of a dialogue and a two-way conversation between a guest and myself for the season. And what is really great about what we're doing with Hiwar for the next couple of months is really highlighting pioneering women in in their respective fields. So we have a really exciting lineup. Kicking off with Anwar Al Mahmeed. Anwar Al Mahmeed joins us tonight with a really kind of special take, I guess, on the way she kind of views and approaches her career. Anwar has a knack for new age innovation. She holds interests in deep tech, which encompasses areas like nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, and Bitcoin, amongst other things. So Anwar is very drawn to redesigning systems of human interactions, we can say. And she joins us tonight for our first Hiwar session to share how the future might be closer than we think. I'm going to hand off the mic to Anwar and maybe kind of start off with a question touching on your earlier years. How would you kind of describe Anwar as a child, her interests growing up?
Thank you, al-Athar and Director General Sheikh Hassa so much for this. It's an honor and I'm very humbled. As a child, I'm a single child of a single parent. She's a very strong woman. And so she tried to embed a lot of skills in me. Some I kept, most I didn't. So growing up, I had a lot of time to myself. So I would play games with myself. I'd play chess with myself, dominoes with myself. So I'll play both sides, 3 sides, 4 sides. But I'd also watch a lot of movies. My mom tried to teach me violin, ballet, French. They didn't stick, but I now have a big appreciation for culture and art, which I think she embedded in me. So that's how I grew up.
Shout out to mom. Amazing. Do you want to share some visuals?
Oh yeah, sorry. So we have some pictures here, just proof that I did take violin lessons. And this is my birthday in the Gulf War. So my mom was obviously involved. This is in Khafji. So we were very close. I was surrounded by women, by her and her friends. I grew up with adults until I came back to Kuwait, and then I was surrounded by my cousins, and so that's where I started picking up some other skills.
Amazing. I always love touching on the early years because I feel it's very telling on like the future trajectory of your life. And I guess from there, how would you say you fell into like the world of finance?
That was totally by mistake. So I think it's very wrong to expect people in in high school to decide exactly what they're going to do with the rest of their lives. I was completely confused. I had no idea, and I had a lot of pressure because my mom knew by the age of 6 that she wanted to be a cardiologist, which is not the standard and not something, I didn't know at all what I was interested in. So I went into, I went to USC as, going into dentistry. And the reason being is I heard they travel a lot for conferences and stuff. So I was like, okay, why not? Pays well, I think. And then, once I got there, I didn't like it. Tried to shift into architecture, had to repeat the whole year. And then it was like, a 6-year program suddenly. Then I was like, okay, there's a bunch of people that came from Kuwait. They're all doing finance. Let me jump into that and see what it does. I get to transfer all of my credits. It seems like the most efficient transition, and so that's what I did.
Right.
But then I came back to Kuwait for multiple reasons, and I got to experience a small version of Kuwait through Kuwait University, which for me is amazing. At first, obviously, I was unhappy about coming back. But then when I actually experienced it, first of all, I met some of the most amazing people in that university. Second of all, I took classes in Arabic that I never did before, because when you're in these like private American schools, you don't get that exposure as much. And so I took psychology, business law, and a bunch of other classes fully in Arabic, so that helped me, made it stronger. And if I want to be a part of this community, this society, that was necessary for me. So I think sometimes life changes direction for you, not against you always.
Definitely. Yeah. So, for a mistake, it took you a pretty long way into your career, and it always kind of works out, like you said, for the best. Before we kind of jump into the career, I just want to share with the crowd a little brief on Anwar's CV and her kind of background. So, Anwar is currently the managing director of Republic MENA, a board member at Cube Fabs, and a venture capitalist. So she founded Metaverse Ventures to invest in early stage deep tech, and had previously co-founded the East Chain Co. Founded solely on blockchain infrastructure investments. She was also the lead organizer of the East Chain Open Hub conference in Kuwait. Prior to that, Anwar was a product development manager at Borsa Kuwait. She started her career in the Kuwait Investment Authority's training program, where she entered at State Street, London, and later joined the hedge fund department of the Kuwait Investment Authority. Anwar is a CFA charter holder since 2015. That's quite a mouthful. Inshallah. All right, so early career we can say kind of started at the Kuwait Investment Authority and Al Borsa. What would you say you kind of gained from your time there?
So a lot from each one, something very different. So the KIA, what's special about it is it's the best exposure in the world. I don't think there's anywhere else you can start as a young professional that gives you the kind of exposure you get at the KIA. You sit in 3 meetings a day, and every single one of them is with a top global manager and someone that has major influence on the global economy. And so starting off, it's very exciting. You get these crazy geniuses that you get to see every day, and it's very inspiring and teaches you a lot about what's really going on. But the issue I had with that was the learning curve was shallow. So you'll figure it out within 3 months, within a year, you're kind of, you did everything you can do. And then it's a slower trajectory upwards. And so for me, and then you kind of start facing, because it is a government organization, so you face the same obstacles you would expect from such organizations. And so for me, what it did is it gave me time to study for the CFA exam, and so I did that for 3 years, and then once I finished it, it was time to go. Borsa, on the other hand, I got that call when I was about to leave the KIA. It was newly privatized, so I was like, let me try the private sector in Kuwait, maybe it's a bit different. And then you go there, and it was also, you meet some, so I met some of the most amazing people, both at the KIA and in Borsa, some of them here. And they become not only lifelong friends, but mentors and just, family over the years. And so we do have some of the most brilliant people in both of these organizations, but the way it works, the way it's structured, is sometimes you're just capped. You're limited in what you can do. You have to kind of wait. It's a very, very slow progression. And so same thing with the stock exchange. I think we have pictures here to support. So this is kind of the exposure I got at the KIA. The one on the right is Bill Ackman. The 2 on the left is John Novogratz, Izzy Englander. These are some of the largest names in finance. And for me, for young professionals, it was incredible to meet them. They're the ones they make movies about. And so I stayed in touch with them when I left. And it's actually Bill Ackman that said a word to me that made me really quit my job when I was in Borsa, which is, I asked him about his, life, what he was how he did it, and he's like, by the age of 26, I was managing money. At the time, I was 28. So I said, oh, 26. So he said, yeah, you're late. So just these 3 words, it shook me. It really shook me. I was in New York visiting my cousin for graduation, and then I got on a plane, read a book, and I was like, done. So I came back. I quit my job from Borsa. I didn't really know where I was going to go. But at the time, when I was in Borsa, I was doing a lot of research with the CEO at the time, who was Khalid Al-Khalid. And so in late 2016, I fell upon Bitcoin and blockchain. And that's where and how I got exposed to it. And we have here 2 emails. One, if you look on the top right of each, you see the dates. So the first one was January 2017. That's when I first heard about it. And then the second one, July 2017, I had already submitted my resignation. And as you see, the last thing is, it's the future, and I think the future is closer than we think. And I was out. And so I was, I fell down that rabbit hole, as they say. And then I happened to find someone who also was passionate about it, and we decided to work on it together.
Beautiful. I just want to take a step back and acknowledge some of the women you found in that space and how they kind of influenced you, I'd say.
Yeah, so both men and women influenced me, but obviously I grew up surrounded by some of the most incredible women, being my mom, my aunts, and my mom's friends. And again, that's just like the KIA, it's very special exposure because you get to see these really, really incredible women from a very early age. And then they get to influence you, they get to be a part of your kind of makeup, they develop your values. And so I was always surrounded by women. I grew up with, in a group of women. And so even in the KIA and Borsa, as I said, the women that I met there become more than family to me. And they helped take me through it because I know when it's time for me to leave a job when I start getting frustrated every day. Because obviously I feel like it's just me kind of hitting against a wall where I want to continue but I can't, and so I get frustrated and it's not good for anyone to stay, so it's time to leave.
Amazing. So Blackman tells you you're late. The future is coming and you leave your job. What would you say were the concerns around leaving?
No concerns, just obviously the typical fear everyone can imagine, which is the unknown. You're just jumping into nothing. Where am I going? I didn't even actually have a plan when I submitted my resignation. But what's amazing is, my mom worked this job all her life. But when I told her I was going to do this, she was very, very supportive, incredibly supportive. And the thing about us in Kuwait is, where are we going to go? Where are we going to fall, really? Luckily for us, we're citizens of a country that really takes care of its citizens and protects us to the point where our risk is we stay at home. Our risk is we find a job that the government can provide for us. And so I'm not going to end up on the streets. It's not really, as you said to me, like, it's not that underdog story where you go to the US with $20 and you make it. It's not like that. So because we have this safety, because we have this cushion, we should all be doing this. We should all take that jump. We should all kind of be, exploring the unknown because you have that incredible support system, which is your country and your family.
100% agreed. I am so glad you brought that up. So upon leaving, you stumble into East Chain Co. How did that come about?
So that was when, I was figuring out in that summer what I was going to do. And then I spoke to a friend of mine who was also interested in crypto. And we decided together to launch a fund to invest in blockchain infrastructure. We then had a couple of other partners join us on that. And we did that for a few years. And we launched the first 2 crypto conferences in the region in Kuwait at the time. Today, the UAE is the leader when it comes to blockchain. But really, if we look at the region, Kuwait was the first with the proper crypto conference. We invited, some of the bigger names today that are still leaders in the space. And it was an incredible experience for me in terms of, 1, organizing an event, but 2, speaking publicly and getting exposed to all of these incredibly smart and brave people that we were meeting at the time. And so we did that for a while. Again, the crypto is a rabbit hole. You fall into that and you don't come out. And that's exactly what happened.
I was hoping you could kind of expand on that because people may be familiar with investments and the Kuwait Investment Authority and the Borsa, but crypto is more kind of uncharted territory for a lot of people.
Yeah, so crypto is not as controversial as it was when we first started. People get it now and like it, I think. Or they hate that they didn't come into it in 2017, or earlier. But for me, what crypto did is it's an introduction of a new way of thinking, what it did is we challenged our basic notions of currency. So today the currency we use is money. And whether it's fiat money or crypto money, it's all the same technology. It's money. It's something we came up with to interact, to kind of expand our ability to interact with each other across borders and time. And so what Bitcoin did was it showed us a way to do that, 1, without a centralized organization controlling it, whether it be government or not, and 2, a truly global currency. So it showed us some really cool stuff. And there's a lot more to it than that, but the idea was that you can create new systems, you can challenge what you're used to, and you can do it in a very different way. So for me, that's what it was. And then you have Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies that challenge the way we govern, that challenge the way we vote, that challenge the way we, challenge the idea of what art means in the digital world. So crypto is really exciting in that it's a mind expanding industry. Once that happens, you can't go back.
Amazing, amazing. And amongst your work within East Chain Co., you were also involved with some VC or your work as a venture capitalist. How would you kind of describe your female intuition playing a role in that?
Yeah,
job description.
definitely. So VC, venture capital, is investing in private companies that are not listed anywhere. So usually it was, historically kept for the ultra rich because it's considered high risk because, most of them fail, and they do most of them do actually fail. But what's happening now is things are changing. More and more people coming into it. We'll talk about it in a bit with Republic. But for me, the difference from coming from a background of hedge funds, and hedge funds, what's a hedge fund? A hedge fund is a fund that tries to capture as much value from mainly publicly listed securities. And so they'll try to capture as much upside when the market goes up and very much limit their downside when the market goes down and outperform all other funds. That's what hedge fund is. So it's a lot of leverage, a lot of risk management, it's a lot of different kind of playing with strategies, very creative, very complex. Then you go to VC, and VC, while they, kind of try to make it seem like it's complex, it's not. You're betting on a human being. You're basically just saying, I'm going to invest in this person. And yeah, you can fall in love with the idea they're talking about, but I've seen firsthand, you can come invest with someone, they have this idea, and then 5 years later, it's completely different, but it's still incredibly successful because it was the right person that you invested in. So with VC, it's very much a person-to-person kind of view of things. And so as a woman, we have there's this female intuition, your capability for empathy is a bit stronger. And so for me, I think that gave me an edge because it is, again, as many industries like this, male dominated. And so what you see usually from these investors is they'll invest in a founder, then treat the founder like the founder works for them. And that's hard. That's very hard on the founder. You're kind of not helping the founder succeed. And at the end of the day, your money is tied up with this person. So it's the opposite of what you're supposed to do. And I just realized that, for me, the greatest teachers are these founders. They're incredible. So if I had a plan, if I had any regrets of leaving USC and continuing in Kuwait, those all died the moment I started realizing how much I can learn from these founders in a way that I don't think any degree or college can offer you. So they're some of the most brilliant people, and they're human beings at the end of the day. You have to remember that and say, yes, you have a family, you have a life, you have health that you need to take care of first so that you can take care of my investment in your company. At the end of the day, I'm here to support you. I'm not here to fight you. And I think, women have that. They do have an edge in that they can see the human behind the founder.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I so appreciate the potential you see in founders here locally, especially. So moving into more of your kind of current career, let's say, with your work in Republic at the moment, how have you captured your interest in Bitcoin specifically?
With Republic?
Yes.
So Republic was one of the investments we made during my time with EastChain, and one of the first investments. And at the time, the founder, because as I said, I get really close to these founders, they become my friends. And so he asked me to help them expand into the MENA region. He was actually in this conference that's him up there on the left. This was one of the conferences we did at EastChain in the Americani Center, Dar al-Athar Center over there. And so he asked me to help him with the MENA region. At the time, it was focused on crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is basically because of what I said. So the VC industry was kept for, very high check sizes, ultra wealthy. And so the problem with that is it's these types of returns that are life-changing, completely life-changing. You make the right bet, you're on a different kind of level. And so if you're going to keep that for the people who don't really need it, you're kind of locking out the ones who do and can benefit from this. And so crowdfunding was a way in the US to work with the SEC to start allowing people to invest as little as $10 in these companies, high-risk companies, they call them. But in a market like today, I should mention it's actually less risky than the public stock markets. I just needed to mention that. But in general, that's the idea of crowdfunding. Now, for me, I do think crypto is that, right? Once we tokenize all these equities, then that's what it is. Crypto becomes crowdfunding because access to these tokens is global, access to these tokens is easy, liquid, etc. And you can fractionalize them, right? So you can invest much smaller and smaller amounts. So to me, that's what Republic was. When we started in 2020 and then COVID hit, really what we were looking at was crowdfunding in the beginning. Over the next 2 years, that shifted into full crypto strategy. So now Republic is officially licensed by the DIFC. That happened just this past summer. And so you're going to see a lot more from them on that end, hopefully.
Beautiful. And moving on from Republic Nanotronics.
Yeah.
Exciting times.
Nanotronics. So Nanotronics is another company. So some people ask me this, and my mom asked me this still. What do you do? And so what I do really is I invest in these like deep tech technologies. And by deep tech, we're talking AI, robotics, nanotechnology, biotech, etc. And these are the companies that excite me. And so one of them, and I'm very lucky to have fell upon this, is Nanotronics. Nanotronics. If anyone here is going to take anything out of this talk, this is, I hope, what you get out of it is this part, because it's the most important to me. I'll describe Nanotronics as well as I can. Please help me if I go overboard. But it's another one that I fell down a rabbit hole. So it's nanotechnology. I met the founder, Dr. Matthew Putman, in an event in New York late 2019. At the time, he introduced himself as a jazz musician that has an AI company, and we didn't get too much into it. But during COVID, we reconnected during Zoom, and I learned a little more about his company, and this is what it is. So basically, he started by building a really cool microscope, so an inspection device. It's basically the most advanced inspection device that doesn't just zoom in, but gives you a wide field of view on the very, very small scale. Why is this important? Anyone who manufactures anything, the better you can see, the better you can manufacture, right? The better the process you can develop, the better the materials, etc. And so they built this inspection device to help scientists, engineers, and designers see what they're doing. But then what they did is they applied an algorithm to the images of this that they were processing. And what this algorithm did was, rather than give the data to the scientists and engineers to tweak, the algorithm tweaked it for them. So the scientists, engineers, and designers can go ahead and do what they do best. They didn't have to sit and tweak the process. You now have an AI algorithm that not only tweaks it, but can give you suggestions for an optimal path, and even suggestions for new ways of doing things and new things to produce. And so this is what they called AI PC. Now, I have to stress how important this is. This is an amazing technology. It's something that, at first I didn't understand, but the more I understood it, I just kept getting more and more obsessed with it, because you can apply it to any sort of manufacturing process or any process really in the world. And so the kinds of industries that they work with are the automotive industry, the semiconductor industry, the fashion industry, and so much more, biotech, genomics, etc. All of them need to see, and all of them need to process and analyze and create better processes. And so that's what Nanotronics does. Now, let me show you. I know we have pictures from their factory in New York. This is their factory in Brooklyn. That's Dr. Matthew Putman, the founder. And going back to how founders are the best teachers, he really is the best teacher. He's a mentor to me in my life. And this is why I love what I do, is because I get to invest and I get to learn from the founders I'm invested with. And so if they can teach me, I know I made the right investment. And so, he's, to me, a living legend. He's teaching me a lot of the things I'm speaking about today regarding nanotronics. But he's also very much a utopian, so he wants to really build the Star Trek universe that he grew up loving. And so this is their factory in New York. You see the wall on the right with all those red frames. Those are all his patents. I have over 200 patents now. So now what we want to do, and this is what's exciting and why this is very important, is there's the next stage of nanotronics. Is they had the NSPEC device, they have the AI PC that helps process the images from the NSPEC device, and now you have CubeFabs, and this is what they're launching, and it's new. And CubeFabs is basically distributed factories all around the world that are, prepared with both AI PC and the NSPEC, so prepared with these kind of processes. And nothing like this exists in the world today. So semiconductors, for anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about chips. So anything in your phone, in your laptop, in a car, or on any sort of digital device, you need these chips, right? Satellites, so space tech, all of that. And semiconductor factories today cost $20 to $40 billion, 100,000 square meters are required, and it takes 3 to 5 years to build. It's really very difficult. There's only a few companies in the world that do it. It's the core of some of the tensions between the US and Chinese economy. And what we're talking about with CubeFabs is the first ever semiconductor franchise in the world. And we, in Kuwait, can be the first. We can have the first CubeFab ever. And we're talking about Kuwait having a semiconductor manufacturing facility, which is something I think we didn't even think of before, because we don't have that kind of industry set up in Kuwait, but we can. And building something like this, which costs very little, takes a year to build, and is ready, means what happens is you can start working with universities, for example. You know, like mechanical and electrical engineering majors are going down, right? And that's a problem because you need the engineers. And so in Kuwait, if I want to get into some of these majors, I have to either decide that I'm going to live outside or not take it. And so what a factory like this, building a factory like this can do is keep our people and have them kind of dream as far as they want and do what they want to do and kind of have somewhere incredible to work when they're home between their family and friends. On top of that, this will obviously help enhance every single industry, whether we're talking about SMEs or large corporations or government corporations. Every single industry we have in Kuwait could benefit from something like this. And on top of that, we'd be creating new industries. So for me, the way I see this and why this is incredibly important is, you know, we're still very much reliant on oil. This, to me, can be our new oil. I mean, this is a way for us to hedge. This is a way for us to diversify, and we have the opportunity today. And I feel very lucky to be able to say this. And so it's this kind of work that gets me this kind of exposure. And if there's anything I can do for my country, it's stuff like that. It's, can I bring the best things I see outside, bring them here because we have the talent, we're capable, our culture, you know, is supportive of this, and so let's make it happen.
Brilliant. Honestly, it sounds so exciting. It really shifts the landscape. It has this ripple effect on multiple industries at the same time. And it really does feel like the future is here.
It's exciting. Like, I'll show you an example. So in the semiconductor industry, so Intel, you guys have all seen the sign Intel. So Intel makes chips, right? Gordon Moore, one of the founders of Intel, in the 60s or 70s, I think in the 60s, said what is now known as Moore's Law. And I always used to hear this before, which is the chip will every 18 months have twice as much transistors, so twice as much capacity. So we can fit twice as much in the same size chip. In the same size chip. And so far, Moore's law has proven correct. So for every 18 months, we can fit more and more into these chips. But we're now reaching the limits of physics with that. Now we you know, in order for us to maintain Moore's law, we're going to have to change the way we do things. Now, what Dr. Putman described to me, and I didn't know, was Rock's law. And Rock is one of the first investors in Intel, and he said, yes, that's going to happen, but every 4 years, the cost to manufacture these chips is going to double. And so, and that's what's happening. That's what we've been seeing. That's why your phones get more and more expensive when, you know, generally we assume it should go the other way around. What we are doing with Fabs, and this is what's amazing, is we can both maintain Moore's law and break Rock's law by using different processes and different materials. That's how significant this is. And this is significant on a global scale. And so for me, it's like, can we be the ones to do this? Can Kuwait and this region be the ones to start this? Because all it requires is an investment and a commitment to it. Yeah. And so an example of how things can change, and this is from a company called Nanovation that works with these materials. That, what you see on the right, is a fire detector, okay? And now if you look over there, there's another fire detector using very different material called gallium oxide. So usually most of our electronics are made using silicon. Now there's this new material called gallium oxide. And I know it doesn't seem like anything now, but if I zoom into what's happening there, this is a better and more capable fire detector. And that's the kind of advancement we're seeing, and that's the kind of enhancement we're expecting from these. And so Fabs can do that, you know, for many different things: photo detectors, fire detectors, photovoltaics for solar energy, power inverters for the EV industry, for batteries, and just a lot more.
Amazing. So this all sounds really riveting. If someone were to get involved or is interested in getting involved, what would that kind of look like?
Oh, there's many ways to get involved. I mean, you can invest in stuff like this. You can be a part of building this. You can be a part of kind of spreading the mission. Everything is, you know, everything starts with education. Everything starts with people actually understanding what we're doing in order for us to be able to do it. And so spreading the word. You can, if you're, you know, a processor, a mechanical engineer, or have any of the backgrounds that are required for something like this, you can, you know, submit and try to be a part of it. There's many different ways. For me, everything I'm talking about, this is not something one person can do. It's going to require collaborative effort. So anyone who's interested is welcome and would be, you know, very much appreciated.
Amazing. So Fabs is definitely something that's kind of in the works, we can say, and approaching its reality, hopefully. How about Metaverse?
Metaverse. So all of this, for me, the ultimate goal is what can I do? What can I contribute? And you mentioned it in the introduction, which is I care very much to see if we can design a new system for human interaction. So going back to Bitcoin and currencies. So money is an invention to fulfill and satisfy the function of a currency. And money is amazing. It was an incredible invention. It killed three birds, one stone, right? Store of value, medium of exchange, unit of account. But then money also became the basis of all human interaction. And so if the basis of all human interaction is money, then that's kind of the value and the essence of my interaction with people. And what is money at the end of the day? It's a number. Right. A number of what? It's just pretty much just a number. And so what does that incentivize? It kind of just, makes us want to accumulate, and you see kind of everything that happens today as a result of that. So Bitcoin showed us a different way of making money. But Bitcoin is also still money. And so Bitcoin is definitely an advancement, an evolution of money, and progress in terms of that. But I don't think it's the answer still, because you're still going to see, that the wealth gap increase. It's still money at the end of the day, and it's still the same idea. It's just kind of, the system and how this money is managed is different. Now, my interest is, can we design a new currency that embeds more meaning into human interaction? And this is going to sound cheesy, but this is really what I believe in. And I think, can we somehow make the base of our interaction love? And I'm not just saying love as just a kind of a hippie, cute, naive way. I'm saying, if we can look at beauty as something that might be objective, can we look at love in the same way? And you see all the greats in the past. You see Einstein, Carl Jung, everyone who's ever done anything, everyone today, Elon Musk, just anyone you've ever admired, you look through their quotes, every single one of them, the thing that kind of unifies every single one of them is they talk about love. And it's not because they're trying to be cute either. I think there's something very profound there. And so we now have new technologies to design new systems, which have been proven by blockchain, right? But we also have an abundance that we are misallocating. And what nanotechnology proves is this abundance, is we can actually make as much of whatever stuff we need, and make them using the most abundant resources like hydrogen and carbon. And so if we have these capabilities, then what's happening is just a misallocation and a system that you can design better. So this sounds like very far off, and it is. But for me, it's like, okay, how can I head in that right direction? And so the first way to do it is to educate myself, which is what I'm doing through these investments, which is what Metaverse Ventures to me is, which Dr. Putman is a partner with me on, as well as a young gentleman named Hisham from the UAE. And the idea is really to invest in these deep tech companies that could possibly change the world, and whose founders are good people who want to change the world. And can we together work and find and design new systems? And it sounds, I know how this sounds, but I do think it's a goal that I can just kind of continuously look for. And if you look at the ancient civilizations, which we're in the ideal place for thinking about and talking about ancient civilizations, what makes them different from us? Why do they seem so much more advanced than us? Why are the pyramids still standing while our buildings in 20 years crumble if we don't maintain them? What is it that kind of allowed them to do that, right? And I'm not just talking about ancient Egypt. Every single ancient civilization built these impressive structures, which we don't seem to do today. And I think the reason is, they had some goal, a higher, a higher calling, some sort of spiritual sense of like, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? What's the ultimate goal? What do my kids get from this? And what I think happened is money is incredible for our progress, for technological progress, but it wasn't great for spiritual progress. And so that's what they had, and that's why they built all of these temples and everything that they did. They were always kind of motivated by a higher calling, a higher purpose, something much bigger than themselves, and that was always their target. And while you won't reach it, you'll just get better and better by aiming much, much higher. And I think that's what we should do, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do, step by step.
Amazing. Because once we chatted and we spoke about Cube Fabs, I just went home and I went into my own rabbit hole, because I'm like, it's so exciting to see something so near and so applicable be available. And I just wanted to kind of read up more on it. But I wanted to kind of recap for the crowd and the people watching. some of your works so they can kind of go off and do their own research. So we have Republic for sure, and then Nanotronics. Is Cube Fabs an extension of Nanotronics? Can we say?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
It's an evolution. So it's within Nanotronics.
All right, and
Yeah.
then we have Metaverse
Yeah.
that is to come. What else would you kind of recommend people kind of get started if they kind of want to pursue this field, be it an article or a book?
Oh, no. So I read all day, every day. So you have to read everything and anything. And I think what's amazing is these algorithms kind of help you choose the next book and the next book. And
Right.
you're going to fall down your own rabbit hole. I can't really tell anyone what to read. I can recommend the ones that have influenced me a lot. But it's really I think you should be very multidisciplinary. So you want to read about science, you want to read about math, you want to read about art, culture, philosophy, all of it, because all of it together enriches you. And I think the problem with our education system actually was dividing that. Because if you look at really some of the great people in history, like Leonardo da Vinci, he was as incredible an inventor as he was an artist.
Right.
And same thing with many others. And so I think you want to read and kind of expose yourself to as much. Exposure is important. Just try things out, experience it, read about it, learn about it. Don't be afraid about like really high-tech stuff. You can learn it. It's really not true that it's for specific people. If you really want to understand something, you can just close the door for a week on yourself and really learn it. You have all the tools that you need online. And so if we're talking about investing, obviously start dabbling in investing. Republic is a good platform to start with very small amounts, and then you can build your way up there. You can try some crypto, real estate. I mean, it depends. I can't even recommend because I know what works for me, but it won't be the same as what works for everyone else.
Definitely. I think that's a big underlying theme to a lot of your work and the way your career has kind of shaped itself is your promptness and proactiveness in teaching yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe that ties into the whole single child aspect growing
maybe.
up. But how would you, sorry, I was going to phrase this differently, but completely lost my train of thought. Given your extensive career that's very established, what would you say was the greatest way you kind of failed forward?
So I don't know, every day is a lesson, right? And so, this is what I learned. I think rather than say failed, what's the lesson that I learned from them
Definitely.
is, especially in finance, and it's the same in every industry, but especially finance, you're going to encounter some people that are maybe deceitful or dishonest or, want to kind of mess your game up, etc. And so do you sit and mope about it and be depressed about it, or do you kind of really analyze it, look into it and be like, oh, interesting, what can I learn from this? Because everything I take from it makes me stronger for the next one. If I'm going to say the support you receive from your family and friends, and even from strangers sometimes, but the support you receive as a human being, this is a superpower. And this is, what I'm grateful for. al-Athar and Sheikh Hassa inviting me here is a huge sign of support for me. And that's what keeps me going when I fall or stumble, whether it be from external circumstances or just being overwhelmed or any of that. And so when you know that you have people supporting you and that have your back, and that at the end of the day this all doesn't matter. You're kind of trying to just challenge yourself and reach as far as you can go as a human being. But at the end of the day, what matters is that you have love, and you can feel that. So in terms of failure, there's a lot of sharks in the financial world. There's a lot of, things that you have to be careful about. And luckily for me, I was always super careful about my legal documents, and so I never had to face that. But then you learn these lessons, and suddenly these lessons become a treasure trove of basically gifts for you to take, whether you want to, whether you want to or not. So. I think you all know this, right? Everyone knows this. If when you're you're going to have these dark days, you're going to have these difficult circumstances, and it's up to you how you react to it. It's not up to you what happens externally, but it is up to you how you react to it. And then its effect on you is based on your reaction purely, not on the action itself. And so for me, it's can I, in every single moment, learn a lesson from it? And I learned from all my friends and all my family and everyone in my life. And they helped me kind of readjust if I'm, struggling with something. No, but take the lesson from this and that's it. And for me, that's how you stay strong and you keep going. And at the end of the day, life is a process. So you're never going to end. It's never going to stop until it does. And so as long as it's a process, take it, move on. How can I take it to benefit? How can I use it as input for better output?
Right. Well, we all, I think we can all agree that true independence really starts with financial independence. And the investment sector has become so much more accessible for people today, be it through apps, from your phone screen, you can basically start making investments and changing your investments. And I think a lot of people are willing to kind of give it a try, are just not sure where to start, really. So I was wondering if you had any pointers, certain platforms people can kind of, test the waters in.
I mean, definitely read, right? Educate yourself, see what kind of investments you're interested in, and then start dabbling. If it's crypto, you can do it yourself and learn the lessons. So put very small amounts so that if you lose, it's not too painful. If it's, for example, VC and crowdfunding, all that, you have Republic is a great platform for that. But then also there's a lot of people that invest in these technology companies. You just kind of need to hear about them, find them, speak to them, see how you feel about it. You need to make investing your own. So the best part of investing for me when my friends join me is when they start teaching me about the investment. And it becomes really exciting and fun because you see them start getting obsessed about this company. And then it's like, great, that's the only way you should really invest. You shouldn't be investing, too passively. If it's something that you're passionate about, obviously you can. But for me, it's, try to invest in something you're curious about because that's the best way to learn. Try to invest, and try it very slowly. You have to slowly build things up. Don't be reckless. Don't go crazy. Don't just put everything you own into something. Slowly start adding to it and readjust as you go.
Brilliant. So before we open up the floor to questions, I wanted to kind of bring our talk full circle and touch on Anwar, 30 years back. What would you say to younger Anwar?
To little Anwar, I would say, don't ignore Star Trek when it comes on KTV2. That was terrible because I saw it every day and I ignored it and I wish I didn't. Try to keep some of the lessons your mom tried to teach you, like violin and French. Love is the end game.
Amazing. A relevant question, or maybe an extension to that. Would you say science fiction played a role to kind of had an influence growing up and your kind of interest now?
Not on me, but
technology?
it's a shame. Like I think science fiction should be a part of children's lives because the thing about science fiction is it's only science fiction until it becomes science.
Yeah.
And so if you expose people at a younger age, they suddenly get these technologies better than others, right? And so for
Right.
me, I didn't have that. I didn't have that growing up, but I very much, when I fell into this industry, felt the difference between those that did and myself. And so I consider it a huge advantage to be exposed to science fiction early on. And now I'm trying to catch up because everyone in my life loves science fiction now.
That is so well said. Science fiction is only science fiction until it's science.
Yeah.
Beautiful.